We're in the zone with Cranky and the Swagman. All right, cool. As per usual, we have a disclaimer at the beginning of this episode. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are purely those of the individuals voicing them and do not represent the values of the sponsors or the platforms on which this podcast is hosted. All right, so today we have something really special for you guys. We actually managed to find a guest.
For once in our life, we have found somebody who is interacting and wants to be on the show.
And is actually interested enough in the show to be on it.
Oh, I'm surprised they're even listening to the show. I didn't realize we had a lot of fans, but apparently, since our last episode, we have gone from a little small of 240 followers and 130 likes to a massive 1.9k followers and 1.8k likes. So that is massive, like just a massive jump. So it just goes to show people are listening, people want to be involved. And I believe your boss as well has decided he would like to get involved. Do you want to share what your boss has been doing?
All my allocation emails for the last maybe week or so, he's been putting my name in as Ryan inverted commas Cranky last name.
It's good that he's listening to it, because then you can bring it up at the next toolbox meeting, or he probably will, and go, we've just got someone famous in here, we've got to hold the paparazzi back. If Mr. Cranky would like to come up and say a few words.
Anyway, speaking of somebody who does need to make a few, or does want to say a few words, let's welcome Snoozy to the show.
Snoozy, how's it going? Welcome to the show. Okay. You got some fans in the audience.
Right down.
Yeah, guys, settle down, okay? I know it's a redhead. I know she steals souls. It's okay. Yeah. So sad. So everyone likes that one.
So, anyway, tell us a little bit about yourself to start with.
Yeah, so I'm a traffic controller, been a traffic control supervisor for about a year now. Seen some stuff, been through some stuff, done some stuff, and yeah, it's definitely been an interesting ride.
Smoke some stuff, steal some stuff.
No.
Okay, not in the last couple of years for me, anyway.
Nothing like stealing souls on the job.
Yeah, 100%.
Now, for those who can't obviously see because they haven't tuned in, it's because our guest has red hair. If they didn't pick that up from all the intro.
He's not going to drop it.
He's not. But I'm just going to warn him. You know how you said you're going to be coming over to Sydney at some point in the next couple of weeks. She is going to be waiting for you at the airport.
Yeah, it'd be that borderline of Sydney. Do not cross. Sorry. We know where you're from.
Cranky, if you see him, take one for a team. Yeah.
Yeah. Take one for the team, Cranky. Take one for the team.
How am I going to take one? For which team am I on? That's the question.
My
team.
No, I've known Swagman longer.
Oh, Sydney Cider comes to Perth.
That's going to happen one day soon, too. Anyway,
just get the audience going here.
I believe Swagman's prepared a few questions for you that don't involve the colour of your hair.
Yes, so obviously you've been doing traffic control for some time now. So what are some of the version, like we've obviously told our side of things from a male's point of view, what stories have you got from us from your point of view? What's it like as a female traffic controller?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great job. Look, I love
206,000 a year?
no, not quite. A dream, and tell him he's
Damn it, TikTok
dreaming.
lied to me again.
Yeah, it was on Channel 7 again this afternoon.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I just don't get it, like, yeah, I
Mhm.
digress. But being a female in this industry, even just construction in general, it's definitely interesting, like, there's massive pros, like, you feel pretty supported and stuff, but then you can hit pretty low lows, and it's not necessarily the people you work with, but other people on construction sites and general public that have you in a different eye line than if they saw a bloke on the road working or things like that,
Yeah.
Yeah, the amount of I can count on one hand the amount of times I've been whistled at, from passing motorists. Like
This many.
that number. Yeah, exactly. That's the number. I get a lot of these.
We do get a lot of them. Oh.
I get a lot of those
Really?
today. Like even today, like just people that were so rude, like Northern Sydney people are needless to say, but it's just interesting. And talking about the lows and that it's not necessarily the people that you work with that are treating you different because you're a female on site. The other day I was working and this guy across the road from like a different construction site was like, "Hey love, how are you this morning?" I was like, "Yeah, good, thanks, living the dream," just a casual chat. And he comes along and I walk past his ute while setting up, and he goes, "If you wait there, love, I'll wait there until I finish and I'll take you home."
Oh,
And they're like, "Love your confidence, mate, but honestly, just walk away. Like, just go."
if only they met who your partner was, I don't think they would even try.
Probably not. Yeah, and you kind of come to hold your own in that respect. Like you come to know how to shut people down in a different way, so it makes a little bit lasting effect, And I was, ripping some jokes up, and I thought of some absolute crackers after, but my
It's always the case. You always think of what to say when it's already happened.
Yeah.
and they were crackers, like they weren't very appropriate, and I probably wouldn't say them out loud, but I had a little giggle to myself about what his reaction.
I think we've all had those.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, but on the pro side, like most of the guys that I work with are all like bloody amazing. Like if they see something or they see a member of the public that is probably giving us a hard time or just being a little bit creepy, they tend to stand up and help us out and stuff like that, which is really good.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, well, I can say as a team leader myself, and I do generally get put in charge of girls quite often, and I mean girls like younger girls. A lot of the girls who work for our company are 25 and under. They tend to call on me when people from like the general public are giving them grief in some way. So I can say, as a guy who's 6'4", it's a pretty good feeling to just walk up to the situation and have the other guy just go, "Oh shit, okay, no, I'm gone."
Yeah, and I mean similar. So I'm under that 25-year-old age bracket, but the upbringing that I had and living on a farm and stuff, like I've definitely been known to be able to keep my own. And if any of the girls feel uncomfortable, whether it's with someone from the public or one of the boys, I'm always first to put my hand up saying, "Hey guys, let me know and I'll sort it out like in a professional way." Like I'll try to what I call straight talk someone to fix it and find a solution and resolution to the situation, right? Because if it's not dealt then and there, it's probably not going to end up dealt with, and people aren't going to be satisfied, right?
And that's about 9 times out of 10 of all of our sites. It's they're never going to be happy, even when you resolve it to their satisfaction. It's still not good enough. They're like, "I want to be here in an hour, and I want this shit cleaned up," and it's just like, love, like you're acting like we are in control of how long we are here for.
Yeah,
it's like we're not in control of how long we're here for. It's those blokes over there. And they're like, "Oh, well, I'm going to go speak to them." And I was like, and they're going to tell you to come speak to us because they're not going to talk to you. And then we're going to tell you the same shit. It's up to them when they finish because they don't know. The job gets done when it's done at a time frame that one is safe, and two, they don't have to come back and fix it twice just because you have to do a slight detour.
Yeah.
It is
Exactly.
ridiculous.
It's like someone's inconvenience or that they have to walk on the other footpath is a drastic change in the whole like scheme of things, you know? Like
100%.
we put there for a reason. That 5 minutes of detour is not gonna like bother you like
Like,
at
I
all.
think the worst one
nothing.
I've seen on the Perth Traffic Control, sorry, not the Perth Traffic Control Australia today. I think it was ATM that was getting bagged out. But they had set up the
They deserve it.
detour where the detour turned on itself. So they put a detour in, but then the detour led them to another detour, and people were having to literally do U-turns in a small cul-de-sac area that was barely enough for one vehicle to then come back out the other way. So it was
Oh goodness.
complete incorrect setup. So I put a comment on there saying, this is what happens when you send greenies in the field without a crew leader. This is what happens. Like, it's just, oh yeah, I know what I'm doing. I know how things work. And it doesn't help when we're sitting here trying to defend how hard the job is. And then companies are just like, oh, money saver. We'll just throw the greenies in the field by themselves. It's like, one is litigation. You open yourself up to so much problems.
Yeah.
And then two, you're
And
playing with the public. Like,
you've got, so say for example, if you're like right these days, you all need your normal TC and IMP tickets, right? So implement normal stop flow,
Yeah.
right? So we've all got, other than supervisors, all got the same quals, right? We all got the same qualifications. Us as supervisors manage this site, but also other people also have their implementation tickets. They should be able to also look at a map or look at the TGS and be like, hey, actually, that's the wrong way around.
Yes.
But
What is wrong
you
with
would
these
think
people?
common sense would fit into something. It's gone.
I mean, like, seriously,
Yeah.
compare the TGS to Google Maps, or at least to your local.
Problem you've got is the planners don't leave the office anymore. A lot of them have got access to Google Maps, and they're using an advanced version because they have this new app that's out, or they've paid for a certain program that gives them real life virtual information. But
It's not the
the
same.
problem is it's not up to date to what it should be. It's not today's date where something 2 months ago has changed, but that hasn't updated in the system yet, so it's still showing the old way around. So they've just gone planned it on that, based on that, instead of going out to the site, looking at the job, going, right, this is how it needs to be done, going back to the office and then doing the TGS and the TMP. But no, it's just done by Google Maps now, and it's getting ridiculous. It's getting to the point, and that's where the frustrations lay with traffic controllers and crew leaders, because you get to site and go, the fuck, this isn't here. They go straight here. Why are we blocking off this area, but then that area is not blocked off? So then you're having to implement even more on the fly.
Yeah, and then like, so for example, like you have a TGS, and you know there's the trucks aren't in the exact address that they're going to put or whatever, and then you got to say, sorry guys, like got to get this amended, like just give us half an hour, and then you're prolonging the client right from starting work, and then it's a gradual thing, and then you got to constantly play catch up, you know.
And then you're there even longer, and they go, oh well, once it's all set up, you just stand there. It's like, yeah, it's the 2 hours of setup prior to standing there. Like, they just forget that it's not just this little section, but it's the surrounding area on top of it. And if you're already down two crew leaders or two traffic controllers for the day, that, you know, it could be just two of you setting up a 1 hour or 2 hour site, and what should have been a 10-15 minute setup is now longer.
You guys are getting help?
Oh yeah, see, in Perth,
I do it by
we
myself.
get help. Yeah, we have this thing called traffic controllers and a crew leader that is meant to go out with you with the crew. Like we're full Western cowboys out here. We'll throw greenies in the field and just go, oh yeah, just wing it. You know, you'll be fine. How someone hasn't been fatally killed by the company I used to work for is beyond me, because it's going to happen.
Is there a non-fatal way to kill someone?
Well,
sorry.
I suppose.
Sorry, Snoozy, you go ahead.
Oh, Jesus.
You'll have to
No,
say that again. I didn't catch
but
it.
you know, I was just saying, stealing souls. You know, the non-fatal.
Yeah, yes, stealing souls. Good.
This whole been like what I like. I don't mind having greenies on the field because we've all got to start somewhere, right?
Oh, 100%.
And especially those TCs that we have that you're like, come in the ute with me, help me set up so that we have everything in place, like so we can, so you know what's going on this site, especially because you're green. And then go, hey, we're putting this here because, hey, we're doing it because. They understand, right? And then, so therefore, when they move on through the company in the succession of it, if they get team leader at the end of the day, then they understand a little bit more as well. They're not just being like, okay, we're setting up, you stand here, you go on bat, do this,
exactly.
blah, blah,
And
blah.
That's how it should be. That's how it should be. That's how the training should be. I actually mentioned because I work in the work health safety field and I know a few good inspectors, and I mentioned to them they need to bring back the logbook.
Yes.
So all new traffic controllers had to have the logbook, and you had to tick off certain sections.
They don't even do that
have
here
it
anymore.
signed off. No, it's like it's just gone out the window. It was like, oh, people are just frauding it. It's never getting done, completed correctly. I reckon for over here, I reckon you have to submit that by the end of the month or something, or end of 3 months, and it has to go through main roads or one of the higher departments to mark off.
That used to be the way here.
Oh, well, there you go.
Don't they do something similar in Queensland that you have to do 20 hours or something?
But
yeah, so I don't know if they've got the logbook or if it's just a...
So in Perth, they used to have the logbook, but then too many people were basically just frauding it, not completing it, and it was never followed up, so it never got completed. When I first started out, there was a logbook. You had to fill in this logbook. You had to get the team leader or supervisor to sign off it at the end of shift. 9 times out of 10, you'd go back to the yard to do the logbook and the hours, and everyone's gone home. It's like, well, who's signing it?
Yeah.
So what I used to do is the minute I got to site, I was like, look, when we finish, I just need you to sign this. So can we not run off at the end? Because if I don't get this in, I'm not going to be able to prove that I've done my hours. So that's what I used to do. And it took me about 2-3 months to get that signed off on. And then I submitted it to HR, and HR turns around and goes, oh, you're the first person that's ever done this.
Really?
I was just like, hang on, what? Like, we didn't have to do it. They're like, no, we give it to you to do it, but you're the first person that's actually handed it in and completed it. We just don't follow it up. And I was like, so why did you not just say, hey, we give you a logbook, but don't fill it in because we're not going to chase you anyway? Their version of it is because we want people to actually do it, but we're not enforcing it. It's like, well, maybe that's already gotten out to everyone, which is why they're not doing it. Like,
well, think of the original reason why it would have been implemented, right? Having the logbook is to ensure that, you know, everyone's got the same experience and stuff and been signed off on it. Like, if there's a reason why it was like started in the first place, wouldn't that just should be like
bought
implemented
into the whole industry because of the fatalities happening? So it was brought in to track, to make sure after your 3 days worth of training that every company had to hand you a logbook to fill in, be compliant, hand it in. So then if you got audited by an inspector or, you know, just a random audit from a client, they go, hey, can you show us that your TCs are trained and competent? You can go, well, we have their training logbooks and here they are as compliance. So that's why it was brought in. But now it's just not followed up on until something goes wrong. And I think a lot of traffic control companies are just rolling that dice of, because the first question you get asked from an inspector is, show us that your traffic controllers have been trained. What proof have you got that they've been trained other than their 3 days worth of training, other than you can show us on your main scheduling dashboard that they've been with the company for 3, 6, 12, 2 years? What other information do you have that shows us they're properly trained? So, and if they say, I don't have anything, like, it just goes against them. It's a compliance problem. So
yeah, because like the sad reality is like some people go and do the course, right, and they don't really listen because they're like, oh, we're going to learn on the job, blah blah blah. But the real thing is that all the basic like things that you need are in that, and then everything else stems off the training that is provided. Like, you don't have those workbooks and those books for no reason.
It's 3 days. It's literally 3 days of training. And that's the worst thing about it is what my company that I used to work for did was, but show me in the legislation that says I can't put greenies in the field. They've got their tickets. They've been in training for 3 days. It's like...
That's 3 days and they're responsible for someone's safety.
Yeah, 3 days and they're responsible for someone's safety. It's ridiculous.
Even engineers, and doctors, people that have been at university for 5 to 7 years, don't get put out into the field on their own
No.
for at least like 2
They've
to
got
3 years
placement.
after they finish. They get placement. They go and do an apprenticeship or something. So why don't we?
I reckon that needs to start happening in traffic control. I think when it starts to get really, really bad, I think that's what the government's going to start doing is saying, right, you've done your 3 days training, but now you're going to go into placement for X amount of time. And then after that time's cleared, you're going to come back and do another, week's worth of training in traffic control because the way it used to be, you could probably get away with 3 days training, but it's got a lot harder, a lot stricter. You can't jam pack everything you need to know about traffic control in 3 days.
No.
It's physically impossible. And you still get it. You still get people that can't speak English properly, and you sit there and one day going, how did you get your traffic control ticket? And I can barely understand what you're telling me in a basic interview, in a simple interview. And somehow you've got your tickets.
I had this situation, and I was discussing it with another crew leader today, how you can go and do your assessment and you not being able to communicate properly over radio and then having to go out in the field, go on bat, and you not being able to speak very limited English.
My Lord. Yeah.
To the point where it is kind of unsafe for someone else to be on the other end of the bat and for the crew that we're traffic controlling for, right? On the course that she did a couple of years ago, that the trainer had actually failed a couple of the TCs because they couldn't speak enough English and because they couldn't communicate effectively over radio.
Yeah. Because that's one of the biggest
we need
things
more of that
in our industry. You got to be able to communicate.
This isn't security. This isn't go stand at a front door and every now and again use your radio. This isn't the security industry. This is you're playing with people's lives. Pull your fucking head in. RTOs need to start pulling people up on it.
Not even just other people's lives, but what happens if they're in an emergency situation and they can't relay that information?
100%.
Say, for example, you're on a bend, the crew that you're traffic controlling for is on a bend, and you don't have any line of sight of the other traffic controller. What is that what are you supposed to do when you can't communicate effectively? Even just say emergency.
Yeah.
You can press button 3 times on your radio to trigger the alarm, but no one's going to know exactly what's going on.
Yeah, exactly.
And a lot of times I don't have the manpower for someone to go, hey, can you go and check on Bob, make sure Bob's okay? Because some of the time you will only have 3 people. One person's probably gone to the bathroom on their break and it's only you two on site.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, Swagman knows full well a couple of weeks ago I was dealing with somebody who was in that exact situation. I mean, this guy could barely speak English, right? And we were working on a corner. I had to have him up and around the corner, okay? And I had a greenie with me too. So,
just to top it off.
Just to
throw the spanner in. Yeah.
But here's the thing. This guy, right? The guy that was supposedly the more experienced TC between the pair of them was so fucked. Even as far as speaking English is concerned, that even the greenie was getting on the radio and getting up him, just going, "What is wrong with you, bro? You need to start talking. You need to start telling me that you're sending traffic." And it's like, the dude who's got 5 minutes experience is telling you how to do the job you've apparently been doing for 5 years. You go home, okay?
Yeah, just leave.
I had a deadly combination today. I had a traffic controller today that, wasn't very fluent in English. She knew a bit, a lot. And to top it off, she was on her phone and I had said over the radio, please get off your phone multiple times, right? So
if she's on her phone, the least she could do is open Google Translate.
Yeah,
Chat GPT, please talk for me.
like I know it sounds
Mm,
horrible sometimes how we say, or people aren't proficient in English, because I know and I'm aware that English for some is the hardest language to learn. I respect that, I understand, but I believe that in order to be safe on site, you need to at least know the bare minimum for English for your
Yeah.
job.
Oh,
Yeah.
100%.
I mean, it's all well and good if the whole team speaks Arabic. It's all well and good if the whole team speaks Hindi. But if 2/3 of the team you're working with doesn't speak your language, it's time to start learning that language.
Oh,
And this is
100%.
coming from
And you
someone
can.
who's bilingual too, so I can say that.
Yeah, I was going to say South African over here. It's
I tried to learn Afrikaans, but I could not.
Hang on.
no.
Say that again. Say that again. I didn't catch it.
I tried to teach myself a bit of Afrikaans, but
Why
I
did you
couldn't
do
learn it.
that?
All you have to do is, I don't have it with me, but just go water. Afrikaan right there, water. And all of a sudden, you've just made the whole nation your friend.
You want to
Uh,
make the whole nation and then some your friend. You'd learn this. This is one of my favorite Afrikaans words. It's very similar to the English one. Beer.
Beer. That's a hard one to learn. Beer. Oh, yeah, it's really hard. I just don't think I can get that 4-letter word. It's really hard to learn.
Is that a 4-letter word you can't learn?
How do I say that again? Oh man. But mind you, speaking of that, Mr. Beast was just over there and he created something like 100 wells. He was just over in Africa. He's created a whole bunch of wells, gave him like a bunch of school books. I've not seen that ad on TV now saying, please help this little kid for $2 a day. He's starving. I haven't seen that in a while now. I don't know if that's because all this. I think Mr. Beast has been there and probably solved that problem for me, for them. So I don't think it's a problem anymore. But if I see it anymore on there, I'll be like, you're a liar. You're a liar. I know Mr. Beast has been there. You're a liar.
So, I actually have an odd question I just thought of for Snoozy, right? Everybody talks about how being female in our industry makes it a bit more difficult. Well, I've got the opposite question.
Uncomfortable.
How have you found that being a girl has made things easier or better for you in our industry?
Easier?
You've just given her the hardest question of all. She goes, look, being a redhead, I've just had to walk up there and steal some souls, and it's made it real easy for me because it's filled my body full of joy.
Other people's joy. Anyway.
You've taken their joy.
What I find has been easier, finding your voice in amongst saying to the blokes on site, hey, this isn't how we have it, like being able to be forthcoming and being able to stand up to some of the blokes that you work with, right? Because they, like, for the crews that you work for, right, you have to say, no, that's not safe, this isn't where you are, you need to be here, that sort of thing. When they see that you're a girl, right, they try to overpower you in a sense, like say, no, like this is how I'm going to do it. And then when you stand up as a female in the industry and say, no, this is how it's going to be, like this is how we're contracted to do the job today, then they go, oh, okay, right, okay, now I'm actually going to listen to you because now you've put forward your authority, right? And by doing that, it makes it easier because they actually listen to you. They actually, females as a traffic control a little bit more approachable too, so they're a bit more forthcoming with saying, hey, we're going to move the truck here, or hey, we need to do this, hey, this is what we're going to be doing, this is what we're up to, this is when we're potentially finishing. So then you can plan in your head, okay, I'm going to have this person here, I'm going to have this person on standby to help start packing up as soon as the boys leave. And that I think is easier because being such a female dominant industry, mainly in traffic control, that the guys need to know that, you know, the women have a say as well.
They've got to be listened
Like,
to, yeah.
at the bare, yeah, like, and that, you know, that's what I found has made it easy, because they actually start to listen to you. Sometimes you have to, you know, earn your stripes in inverted commas. You know, they've got to make sure that they can trust you and that you actually know what you're doing. And in saying that, even some traffic controllers, so being a young female that's a traffic controller supervisor, some new middle-aged men have questioned my authority being so young and questioned my position as
that was going to be my next question for that.
Yeah.
Is like, how many times has that happened, and like, is it
multiple times, and how they don't necessarily listen to you when they're given an instruction. Like, if I'm giving you an instruction, I'm not telling you to go and lick a pane of glass. I'm telling you an instruction so that we can make this site safe, and I'm telling you for a reason. I'm not just telling you just for the fun
Although
of
I
it.
am convinced that
And
half the people we have to deal with on a daily basis are window lickers. Anyway, sorry. Go on. Yep.
But, you know, like, it's not many people. There's a certain demographic that kind of questions your integrity as a young female supervisor or as a female traffic controller, thinking, oh, you know, she's a Sheila, she doesn't really know what she's doing, or she's young, she doesn't have that experience. But when you experience different things on traffic control sites, you have to experience it there and then, right? You don't have time to just, oh, okay, that happened. Oh, shit. I'd be like, okay, this happened. This is what I'm going to do next time. And then go on like that, you know? So, yeah, I mean, you do get questioned a bit, but once people know your working methods and stuff, I think they finally understand that, hey, like, you've been given this job for a reason. Like, the company won't just give you a supervisor role just because.
I used to work I was working.
Just had to put that in there.
Thank you. I was working a job with two girls. This was a number of years ago now, when they were upgrading the Anzac Memorial in Hyde Park, right? And the truck drivers, because as Snoozy might know, there is not a lot of parking around Hyde Park, so we were having to get the bogey drivers to just.
Is that like the central area of Sydney, Hyde Park?
That's
yeah.
We were just getting them to drive around the park until it was their turn to come in. And, well, at the beginning of the project, a lot of these guys thought it would be a great idea to mouth off to the girls that I was working with and just go, oh, well, this is absolutely fucked. I'm not driving around the block. I'm coming in next, kind of thing. But no, we have our list. We have our order that you're getting loaded in. This is something that's been told to us previously. So what these girls used to do was they would take that truck's rego and put it down last in the list.
Oh, yes.
And they'd go,
yes.
Or to make it even worse, what they would do is just make them, even though the other trucks have long since buggered off, they would be making these other like two dudes that have decided to do laps with them keep doing laps, and it's like, no, sorry, mate, the excavator's not ready for you yet. You're gonna have to go back around the block. And
they just keep making them do laps. Yes, classic. I like it.
Patience, isn't it? Like, if it's not your turn on the list, it's not your turn on the list.
Yeah. No.
Speaking on that, have you had anything, Snoozy, on your sites where you've had dramas with males and the sexualized comments or anything like that on your end, or have you found them more not wanting to make the comments now due to how tight the rules are on a site?
Well, I definitely think that recently, like, a lot of things have been drawn towards, you know, sexual harassment in the workplace, especially having females on construction sites and being traffic controllers and stuff. Yeah, personally, I myself haven't really experienced it personally, but being a supervisor, you do see and you do hear the guys saying certain things towards some of the females. And in that point, you know, I dress up with them, hey, do you know this happened? How do you feel? Do you want me to take it further?
Mm.
Yeah.
Because sometimes girls are like, nah, I don't want to take it further, things like that. But I always ensure that I make sure that the girls are okay, because I try to be like the little mother duck and make sure that all my TCs are feeling comfortable on site. Like the situation I was speaking about before about the bloke across the road on a different construction site, not even related to the people that we're doing traffic control for. Like, you just know how to shut guys down, whether it's solicited or not. Like, on site, right, you might have something with one of the blokes on site, right? That's outside of work. If it's solicited, keep it outside of work, unprofessional. If it's unsolicited, that's where the drama is, right? And I think this day and age, like, it is becoming less and less, but you do still see it. And it's where the girls need to be aware about, you know, how they're feeling and stuff like that about those situations and what to do about in those situations.
And finding their voice too, telling these guys, you know, in even this many words, telling these guys to just fuck off. I mean, that boisterousness is something that a lot of the newer girls coming into the industry just don't have yet. And
Yeah, especially the backpackers. They find that, you know, they're backpacking. They just want a job. They go get their traffic control tickets because it's only what $400-500. So they go get that, and then they come in. They cop all this harassment and issues and problems, but they say nothing because they just want to keep their job so they can keep collecting the money. It's like, well, no,
and it's like,
you're in Australia.
yeah.
It's not like back home where you just cop it and take it.
It's not normal, and that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not normal. And, you know, some of the girls that it's happened to for the company I work for, it has happened to, and they don't want anything formal from it. They don't want to make the issue about it. But I know that I feel uncomfortable in those situations when I see it happen, and it's not even happening to me.
Yeah.
I'm of the aspect of, that's going to be my daughter one day. How would I feel about her being talked to or gestured like that? You know, that's how I think. And unfortunately, like, you know,
I think I would see
is-
red
it is-
at that point and just be like raging.
I'd be Wreck-It Ralphing my way through that wall.
Like, if that was my daughter and some bloke did that, I'd just all of a sudden it'd just be like dad mode. Like,
my know that when I'm mad and I'm mad enough to be quiet, that's when they know that I'm pissed, because I go very quiet, and as soon as something else happens, I will flip.
I'd just get a bunch of tuna cans and open the tuna cans and leave it in the contractors' cars under their seat. So on a nice hot day when they get back in the car, the first thing it's going to reek is tuna and salmon, and, you know, I always get my own back. I'd done it to a contractor once. And all they did was just mouth off the whole day. Oh, you can't do this. Oh, who did you pay? And how did you get to work health safe? So I went and got a can of tuna from the crib room, opened it up, and up in the mine sites, it is hot. Like, would be 30 degrees down here is like 50 plus degrees up there.
Yeah.
So you can imagine how hot it is. So I went up to his ute, and he's got this nice Toyota fucking flashy thing. Look, my dick's so big. Look how big it swings. And I went and put the tuna can right underneath his chair where he wouldn't be able to grab it. And he has to drive an hour back to site. It was an hour from site to camp.
Yeah.
1 hour smelling fish and tuna that I'd made sure was completely rotten, already warmed up, straight under his car seat. It was putrid. The next morning toolbox meeting was interesting, though. That was who done this, and we'll find out who it is. It went on for ages. We must have sat there for about an hour and a half, no one saying anything, because nobody knew. I surely didn't say shit. And I'm just sitting there pissing myself, and so was everyone else. Every time we talked about it, we pissed ourselves laughing. And at that point, he tried to do something about it, and the client came on site.
Yep.
And the client's going, what's going on, you know? And obviously someone had told him what had happened, and he kind of chuckled to himself and go, oh, well, you're a big boy. You can get over it, can't you? You can dish it out, but you can't take it. And at that point, that was it. It was everyone back to work, get the fuck over it. Like, got our own back. Like, I just got to that point to where I can't say anything. He's the boss. but what can I do to get my little piece back at him? And that was the only thing I could
And it's
think
like,
of. So
lesson learned: lock your car doors on site, even if you are in the middle of the outback and you don't think anyone's going to steal it. Okay.
that,
Swagman does not have any tuna with him.
yeah. Make sure Swagman doesn't have the tuna.
Cranky, on the other hand, there's always tuna in Cranky's lunchbox.
Yeah, so go see Cranky. Just fly to the eastern states. I just need to get some of that tuna.
Might be a little bit easier to just go stock up at your local Woolies, Swagman.
I know, screw that. Screw Woolies. I'm going to the bait shop. I've upgraded. I'm going for the real stinky shit next. Like, fuck the tuna. It's the only reason it was tuna is because the tuna cans and all the food up there is free. Whereas
Yep,
if I've got to pay for it, I'm going to the bait shop. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it good. Unfortunately, it's either tuna cans or moldy sandwiches, and I thought the tuna would be more of a hit underneath the car seat. Take too long for a moldy sandwich to start to smell out there. But yeah, no, it's one of these jobs where you just either got to speak up or otherwise it just keeps happening. If you don't say anything, nothing's going to change. So,
but
I'm glad that somebody does.
And kind of like something that came into my mind just then is when I first started traffic control, literally first day, the crew leader and happened to be the boss of this site, out of their area, so it was always the boss on site instead of just having a team leader as well. He goes, "Oh, do you know any female traffic controllers that won't work?" And I'm like, "Why does it have to just be female traffic controllers? Why can't it be a male traffic controller?"
Yeah.
And he goes, "Oh, because I like to hire good-looking females so that people like kind of look and then pay attention more to what you're wanting them to do and stuff like that." And I'm
his
sitting
name
there
wasn't
like,
Farid, was it?
this guy. Hey?
His name's not Farid, is it?
No. Yeah. Middle-aged man where I reckon he could have been actually older than middle-aged. He could have probably been
65.
between.
65.
He was probably about 70 years old.
Far out.
So he wants people that look like his daughter, younger age looking, just so he can perv while he's at work
Not his
because
daughter.
he's having a midlife crisis.
His granddaughter.
His granddaughter, yeah.
And that's 70-something years old. That's an end-of-life crisis. It's not a midlife crisis.
That's a Hugh Hefner wanting to get off before he goes.
He definitely was no Hugh Hefner.
Just still working traffic control at 70 and you've been doing it for the last 60, 70 years, you didn't learn that you're not going to make money in the industry.
Yeah, Hugh Hefner's stomach doesn't touch the table when you're sitting a metre away from it, all right?
No, he's got bugs crawling on him at the moment.
Well, even so, even when he was all bloated up, he didn't get that big.
Yeah, no, he's one of the richest people. I can't believe how rich he was to manage to keep Playboy alive for so long. Could you imagine him doing traffic control? He'd be holding a stop bat, have one girl on this arm, another girl on this arm, like, right, girls, turn the bat.
Twist the pole. Anyway.
Twist the pole.
Sorry. And somehow he would also have a cocktail.
Yeah, while holding the cocktail in the other. Clear for traffic, sending.
Anyway, we must remember that there is a lady in the room.
What lady? No, I think she became a boy like first 10 minutes of this segue happening.
She's covering her ears.
She's just like, no. We've just gone viral. We've just gone viral. We're viral.
Times you wish you weren't wearing headphones. This is one of them.
I can't believe that's gone viral. How has that video gone viral? The most stupidest shit is going viral these days.
I don't know. Anyway, what were you going to say, Snoozy? Sorry?
I was just gonna say like the $200,000 that we're supposedly that's gone by.
Yeah, 200,000, and the media keeps ramping it up like it's. I wonder what traffic control company is actually paying the media, and that stupid propaganda of traffic controllers earn 206,000 a year. If I earned $206,000 a year, I wouldn't be sitting at my house with the cheapest radio setup. I'd have a mansion with a warehouse with 20 bloody radio pods going, my own team going. I'd be a multi-millionaire by now.
Playboy house in your house. Rest in peace.
I'd have the Playboy mansion inside of the Playboy mansion. It would be a mansion on top of the mansion. I would own Buckingham. Like, it is ridiculous. Like, the most I think I've ever seen someone get paid is probably 75,000 for the year.
Something like that.
Somewhere around there. And that is sometimes a mixture of FIFO involved as well when you're doing traffic control FIFO. Because not everyone is getting that doing local work unless you've got the regular hours consistently. And that's whether your company is reputable enough to give you the consistent hours as well. So it is just completely ongoing.
Yeah,
But that's, I think, how they kind of lure in like the younger, traffic controls that we have, because they're like, oh yes, I can make quick, fast money by doing bugger all, but then they don't realize how much is actually needed for the job, right? People take the piss, you just stand there with a bat, like anyone could do that, blah, blah, blah. Which, in all fairness, if you go and do the 3 days of training and do nothing else, sure, you can go and do that. But, it's how they get the young people in and they realise, okay, well, this is the only qualification because I left school and blah, 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 and got my traffic control tickets, and then they kind of stuck in the rut, and then they're in doing traffic control until they're 70.
Yeah, it's either traffic control or fast food. But even fast food now is they're paying well. So I know that store managers are getting 80,000 plus for running a fast food store. So Red Rooster Fast Food down here, I know for a fact she was on about 95,000 plus per year, just to be a store manager. And that was back when I was 20. So, you can only imagine the flash car, the house, at such a young age. I think the store manager herself was only 26, 27, like quite young, and running an entire store with stupid, ridiculous amounts of money. And then from there, it's just got better and better. So when people go, you just flip burgers, then now they can turn around and go, well, yeah, I earn 65 grand a year to flip burgers.
Yeah.
It's like, this person's working in construction earning 60 grand a year. This person's flipping burgers earning more, and we're, dealing with more fucking bullshit. It's like, it's ludicrous.
Well, that's what I tell these people. Sorry, go on, Snoozy.
No, you go, Cranky.
That's what I tell these people whenever they come up to me and they go, you guys are the best paid people on site. And I'm like, we're not.
We're the least paid on the job.
We probably make slightly more than a teenager at McDonald's these days.
Yeah, I think the most I've ever been paid, when I got into TMA, it paid a bit more, but as a traffic controller, I think the most was between $25 and $28 an hour. But as a TMA, it was between like 30 and 38 per hour.
Yeah.
So it is ridiculous. Like what you get paid for and the crap you've got to put up with. It's almost like, why am I doing this? Like I got back into it because I got bored. I was like, fuck it, I'll get back into traffic control, put up with the bullshit. What I didn't think was going to happen was, by the way, thanks for coming back to traffic control. We're going to put a bunch of greenies in the field. Like I didn't expect that to happen. Like I knew companies were putting him in the field, but usually they were with someone, more experienced, a crew leader, a team member. What they're doing now is just throwing him in on a pull lift. Oh, it's that easy. It's just a pull lift. Block off two ends of the road. But the things that can go wrong with that and the litigation that can happen when it does go wrong, and it did go wrong for the company I worked with, and it's going to cost them dearly in the long run. it's to the point they're actually being investigated by WorkSafe. That's how severe that situation is.
Well, like there is like a lot of, bringing in greenies and stuff. It's all about like the delegation, accountability, and risk management, right? Like you delegate tasks, you delegate a supervisor to manage a site, and that's what our job is supposed to be, right? Because we are managing the safety and the traffic within that site.
Yeah.
The accountability, we're then accountable for that greenies training and the site, and that causes,
And the client,
from my mind,
just to top it off.
Yeah, and like when I think about it, like when you have to be responsible for all the crew members on the crew, when you're responsible to make sure that the site's safe and that you're doing and everyone else is doing their job correctly, plus ensuring that the greenie is learning, that creates risk because you've got so much on your plate, right? And not many companies will put one person with a greenie to make sure that they're doing their job properly as well.
100%.
Or have another supervisor on site because they don't want to charge the client so much.
It's now making profit over the safety of the traffic controller, and it's only going to take a few more fatalities before serious consequences. As of the 1st of July, there is new laws coming in that will see a company face so much more severe consequences if a fatality or an incident was to happen and it's deemed that they were at fault. It can be as severe as them going to jail for industrial manslaughter now. So it can get quite severe, whereas before it was like, oh, we've got insurance will pay that. And that's the way they operate is, oh, we've got insurance, we've got public liability, it doesn't matter, we don't give a shit. You're just an asset.
But it doesn't cover negligence, right?
Correct.
And, you can have all your swims, you can have all the toolbox talks you want, you can have all that stuff, but unless you're actually not, as long as you're not neglecting your main role in making sure that the site's safe and you have adequate traffic controls to do the
and
job
signage
and all the type of and sign and have all those different controls, then you are being negligent.
100%.
Let me just interject.
And a lot of the...
Hang on.
Yeah, go for it, Cranky.
One of my favorite things that the company I work for does, right, and this is something that so many companies will neglect to do, they will allocate enough people so that, say, if it's a two-way stop-slow operation, they will allocate 4 people to the job, right? So there'll be enough people for all constantly one person in the middle, one person on either end of the road, and then a floater, which with previous companies I've worked for, they rely on that person in the middle to be the floater, which just...
It takes away the whole purpose of the floater and the person.
Yeah, it's got to a point where it's the company wants to make money over safety, and it's so ridiculous how they're seeing employees now, traffic controllers, as just an asset. You're easily replaced. Oh, we don't care. And they're charging the client so little, they're only making the smallest margin of profit, that's why they're just deciding to risk traffic controllers and greenies in the field, because they're trying to save money, and it's ridiculous. Like,
to be honest, it's not only the traffic control companies that are doing this. I personally have gone into a site where it's a skinny F4 road where you're lucky enough to get another car through past their site, and I've made a recommendation to their crew leader, like the client's crew leader, that we should have a middle person because they're covering so many driveways, for example, or to let us know when a car or a truck is coming out of sight. And the client has said no, purely because they don't want to have the amount of expenditure for that one more person. But yet, they are the first ones to complain, or we had to move the cones, or, we had to make sure that the cars could good out, and things like that. I gave you the option to have a person to make sure that you can just focus on your job and we can focus on ours.
Exactly. And that's why we have that extra person. Because you were, I think Snizzy, you questioned that before when I said that. We have that extra person so that even the middle person can go for their break. All the breaks can be covered. There's constantly somebody in the middle to talk to the client, figure out what's going on, move cones, get cars out of driveways, all that sort of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that-
And like, for example, I was in this site somewhere in Sydney, and it was a 4-way stop slow on this
Yep.
intersection, and the place that the boys were working was quite literally in the middle of two. So the streets kind of went straight ahead, and it was kind of like a K-shaped intersection, right? And the boys were working in the middle of the K, at the point of the K on the middle of the intersection.
Yep.
So we were doing that, and my boss comes to site to make sure everything's running smoothly, and he goes, "Why are you on bat?" And I said, "Well, I need, like, our company does rotational breaks to manage fatigue and things like that. So we normally would have a middle person.
So you can do the rotation.
So we can do rotation. I got then stand in the middle and watch the whole site for however long, and to make sure that the site was running smoothly because of the staffing on the site. And I said to him, we're starting breaks. I'm allowing my crew, and I'm managing my crew how I see fit. I can see the full site from where I'm standing. So where I am right now is good. I'm trying to be the best supervisor I can be for your company and for your employees and your client. So unless you want to provide adequate staffing to ensure that we have that middle person, or that the supervisor can stay in the middle for that little bit longer, so that the site is running smoothly, and to see if any changes need to be made, then you need to provide me with enough traffic control.
Absolutely.
And a lot of the times the traffic controllers will raise the issue in the, it's duty of care, oh, we don't have enough signs, or we don't have enough people, and the company will turn around and go, oh, just do with what you've got.
And that's just one of the many, many ways that we are not taken seriously in this industry still.
100%. Like, when the companies are turning around and just putting it back on you and just saying, deal with it, like, who's going to deal with it when the fatality, or someone gets injured, or the client has a problem? Am I going to tell the client, oh, sorry, I did raise this at the start, back at the yard early this morning at 6 a.m. and I was just told to deal with it? Is that what I'm telling the client? Because I'm not going to cover the ass of a company that won't cover the ass for me when something goes wrong, because I tried to do the right thing.
As you said, and you were saying before that, you can't do your job properly unless you're given the right tools. And as I said before, the delegation, accountability, and risk management within site. If you openly say something and you've made someone aware of it, then, like, to the office, then you've delegated and you've made also them accountable, because if they make the decision not to rectify the situation, then, you've done your part. You've raised the concern. And, at that time, it's like, well, do we have the power to shut the site down because it's too unsafe? And then is there going to be repercussions because we made that decision?
100%. I've been in those situations before. I was a TMA operator, completely foggy, called the office. I said, they want to start. I said, but where we are is completely peak hour traffic in the morning. Couldn't see anything, like, it was fogged out. It was an 80 zone. Cars are doing like 30, 40 Ks because you couldn't see your hand in front of your face. And the client's like, let's just get going, let's go. I was like, we cannot travel at 5 kilometers an hour while you mow lawns in this fog. We've got to wait for this to clear up, or the job's going to get cancelled. We sat there for 2 hours, and it got to the point, like, right as the client's like, oh, the boss has just gotten off the phone. It's either we go now or the job gets cancelled. At that exact moment, it was like a light switch. It just cleared up. Like, the fog had come, the sun had come in. It's like, just as it went literally from no visibility to all of a sudden, as if a big gush of wind had just come in and taken it all away. And I was like, we can go. There's nothing stopping us now. Look, I can see the top of the mountain. Let's go. But I was so adamant. I called the office. I told the office I'd done everything you had to do. I was called by the work health safety advisor at that point. Oh, just do the job. It's fine. I was like, then you'd leave the office and you come here and see what I'm talking about, because clearly my video that I've sent you is still not good enough for you to see the risk in this. And I wasn't a qualified work health safety person at that point. I was still doing my course. I'd only done a few units by then, but I knew from what I had learned was enough to stop the job. And I was the one that was in control. No TMA, no job. Your TMA walks off site, your complete job stops, because if your traffic management plan or your TGS says you must have a TMA operator,
You got to have one.
and that TM operator leaves, that's it. That's your job ended, like straight up. So I threatened to end the whole job, and all of a sudden it was like, well, he's our only operator. If he walks out of the company, like, who the fuck are we going to get? Like, it would have cost them more money. So
and there again, in the eyes of the business, right? Do they want to pay the engineers into getting the attenuator fixed?
100%.
Because
even at a low, even though they're designed to take hits that are quite large, those airbags in that truck and that chassis in that truck, when that engineer looks at it, they have to redo it all.
100%. It's going to cost them at least 500,000, 600,000, 700,000 to replace one of those trucks. It's not a normal standard truck. Like the arse end alone could be anywhere from 50,000 to 150,000 just on the Scorpion piece alone. Not to mention the damage it's done to the truck on top of that. So for an insurance company, they're obviously just going to pay it out. They'll write the truck off because it's easier to write the truck off than it is to then fork out 200,000, 300,000, 500,000 for that truck. Like it is ridiculous. Companies don't think, and they just go, let's roll the dice. Oh, it hasn't happened today, or it hasn't happened in the last 10 years. What's the chances it's going to happen? But it only takes one dickhead to ruin your entire fucking year of 15 years. One dickhead. That's it.
Yeah.
It can cost your whole company. So,
well, unfortunately, we have just about reached time. So we're going to have to put in a word for our sponsors. What do you think, Swelton?
That's what I think.
We'll get started with you. What's the reason why we call you Swag Man? I don't believe you live in a swag, do you?
Okay, yeah. Well, the sole reason why it's because I also am the director of Swag Media Relations. So what Swag does, it's all about someone with a goal, but we're not just all about small business, and it's definitely not about just small business and, trying to make money and all that. It's about promoting small business, mental health, physical health, about being on the job, what your goals are, identifying everything. It's a mindset. Swag is a mindset. You got a passion for something, swag, someone with a goal. That's the whole point of it. They've helped sponsor our show for some time now, which is really great that they've come on. And
the whole time, not sometime.
The whole time, yeah. So I managed to convince the CEO, Quinton, to come on board and sponsor us. And he said, yeah, it's great. I love the idea. Let's do it. But yeah, Swag is just all about someone with a goal in mind, and we go out there, record a video of their business, ask them a bunch of questions. We've got people that are millionaires that we have interviewed saying, what advice can you give back to us to help another person become the next millionaire?
Yeah.
That's what it's all about, is just helping the community engagement, helping people find their mindset and achieve the goals they want to achieve. That's Swag. They sell hoodies at the moment. They've started doing challenges where, they go out in the park and they'll say, if you can find us within a certain time frame, you'll get an exclusive free hoodie. So yeah, they got their own merch and all that.
But how do we get in touch with Swag? Sorry to cut you off.
Swag is on multiple platforms now. So you can find Swag headquarters on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and I believe now TikTok. So they are slowly branding out into all fields. It is still a growing field area. YouTube, I think they've got 1.3k likes already and follows and subscribers, I guess you'd call it. Their Facebook page, I believe, has around 190 followers, something like that, somewhere around there, and a few thousand on Instagram and all that as well. So that's how you can, a few thousand. Last check, I think it was their Instagram was like 1,346 or something like that. So growing quite rapidly. Another sponsor I've got,
Mhm.
they've just come on board, which I forgot to mention at the start of this program that we recorded, is Caravan Kings. They
Yeah.
are well known. RAC have awarded them as the most safest and best small business in Mandurah. I believe that was quite a few years ago, but they're constantly receiving rewards and all that. So check them out, Caravan Kings in Mandurah. You can check them on Facebook, I believe that they have. And then we've also got Caravan Kings is also run by a childhood school friend of mine named Corey. So shout out to Corey. Come out onto the show, and his wife Alicia.
We've all got a mate named Corey, don't we?
Yeah, we've all got a mate named Corey, and his wife Alicia. They got some beautiful young kids as well that are in the business, helping their parents grow the business. But yeah, he's grown it from the backyard. They've got a small business as a family, and now it's just consistently growing and growing and growing. They've now got a warehouse where they've had to transition to from back of yard to now warehouse. So it's good to see that they've grown.
That is good.
And I believe you've got some sponsors there for us as well.
I do, but first we're going to go to Snoozy. You got anyone you want to send a shout out to while you're on here?
Oh, not really.
she'll leave the show.
Come on, you can at least thank God.
Like, she'll leave the show and be like, "Oh damn, I have one." My local
I would
bakery.
like to have shout out to the energy drinks that I consume to make me not so. I would like to make a massive shout out to my pillow every night time.
So we're shouting out to Red Bull or Monster?
Yeah, a bit of both. Depends what the flavour of the day is.
Somebody needs to listen to our healthy meals and what to pack for lunch other than energy drinks by the sounds of it.
Yes, we have a whole episode about that.
Dude, stop with the energy drinks. That's why you're so tired.
That's an interesting segue into the sponsor I was going to bring up.
It's just to say that's good segue.
On Track Meals. OnTrackMeals.com.au// in the zone. I'm going to put that in the show notes. Anyone who wants to click on it, well, it'll be there.
It's in the zone 10, and you get a discount as well.
That's the promo code. So the website's ontrackmeals.com.au /in the zone. Really, if you are into military stuff, essentially what they do is just sell you ration packs, which are
ration packs, but they taste good.
They do taste good. They taste really bloody good. They have curries and all sorts of things that you can heat up right there on site without the use of a microwave or oven or anything like that. You have a flameless ration heater, which is the fucking coolest thing I've ever used.
Snoozy's now looking up On Track Meals in the zone 10 for the discount.
Yeah. And I mean, that 10% discount goes a long way, especially if you go and order some of their bigger stuff, which
100%.
is like...
Well, technically it's 20% because they're already getting 10% from their promo that they're currently running at the moment.
Yeah,
and then
that's
if
right.
they add our promo on top of it, they're getting another 10%. So technically you're getting 20% off these meals. So it is right now is the best time to be jumping on their website because you're getting 20% off.
Yeah, that's it. So I think this is the perfect time to say goodbye, to quote the song. And speak to you all next week. Thank you very much, Swagman. I've been Cranky, and Snoozy over there.
Thank you, Snoozy, for joining us. We'll have you again on the show for sure.
You're always welcome back.
Always welcome back.
Thank you.
And anyone else that is listening to our show, if you're a female or male in the traffic control, construction industry, FIFO, or if you just want to join our show to talk shit, feel free to drop us a line at our email address or jump on Facebook and send us a message via Facebook. Don't forget to like, share, and comment our pages on all platforms. We are a variety. We're also on Spotify, so make sure you're following us on Spotify
TikTok.
to listen to all our... And TikTok now. We got TikTok running. Look at that. We're going to be famous anytime. We're going to need security soon to start going shopping.
We have to start just fending people off with a broomstick. But anyway,
I'm working right now. All right, guys, take it easy. We'll see you next week for another episode of In the Zone.
What are you doing? What's happened? Fuck.
Again, we'll just edit that one straight up. Yeah.